It's now time for the big story. Minister of Finance Fable Williams recently announced that Jamaica's GDP growth is better than expected, with a contraction of 0.8% according to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin, outperforming the Planning Institute of Jamaica's PIOJ's estimate of negative 1.8%. Now, this positive news is largely driven by the strong performance of the wholesale and retail and tourism sectors, which exceeded expectations. This morning, joining me is, once again, is Mr. Donovan Wignall, a former president of the MSME Alliance. And I want to place specific focus this morning on this quote-unquote good news that we're hearing from the Minister of Finance, and we want to find out how this will impact. Will it positively impact the MSME Alliance? And so we say good morning and welcome, Donovan. How are you doing today, my brother?
Hi, good morning, Richie. Good morning to your listeners all over the world. I'm fine, thank you.
All right.
On my way to work.
Oh, okay. In traffic, I suspect. Take it easy as you navigate. All right. Now, how, Donovan, will this improved GDP growth affect the small business sector here in Jamaica?
I don't know if in and of itself the report will have any impact per se, but the numbers surely speak to what we need, and what we need is additional incentives for growth. But what is happening in North America now with Donald Trump and in addition to what's happening, what he's going to be announcing today, that presents some threats to local economy, our local economy, and the economy is similar to ours, where we're going to be importing inflation. Inflation for any economy impacts the growth of that economy. So therefore, the gross domestic product of that country, what that country produces locally and consumes itself, is absolutely important. So as far as the growth numbers are concerned, the fact that we're not in a growth position, but we're in an improved position, meaning that the numbers are showing a trend. It's trending up, that we're improving. That is good. The sectors that we need to focus on for us now is the sector concerning food and agriculture and manufacturing. Because of the whole thing of these tariffs on these different products, it gives us an opportunity now to sell goods to the United States at lower rates than what would have been coming in from other countries, the Canada, the Mexico, the UK, etc. So it does present an opportunity for us.
Okay.
So now we should be doubling down and ramping up our productivity to be able to sell these products. We should be incentivizing local companies, manufacturing companies. We should be incentivizing the agricultural sector. We should provide the Ministry of Agriculture with all the support he needs. Provide the agricultural sector with all the support it needs in terms of planting material, irrigation, mechanization. It presents us with a time frame, a timeline within which we know can boost our productive capacity. So as far as the numbers are concerned, again, fine, we're moving, but we need now to be doubling down, moving in a particular direction to boost our production even more.
I want to spend a little bit more time talking about the impact of these tariffs that are expected to be announced today will have on economies around the world. We know that countries like Canada and Mexico might be terribly or negatively impacted. You seem to see an opportunity. I want you, if you can, to just expand on that a little bit more. And I want to also ask you whether or not you believe that the government has, in fact, paid enough or sufficient attention to what is happening in the United States, and has that been factored in, for instance, in the budget?
Well, I didn't hear much about that in the budget. And of course, it should be we're in an election year.
Right.
So a lot of the budget would be centered around reporting and providing, stuff that will get more votes. So we're in the marketing position, what you would call pays of the administration now, where they're trying to put forward how well they have done, so that voters can make a choice based on that. But as far as taking advantage of what is happening or budgeting for the happenstance in the United States, I didn't get a lot of that. And when you look at the World Trade Organization telling Jamaica that they cannot charge GCT on certain food products coming into Jamaica because it's against World Trade standards, while Donald Trump is implementing 25% on almost everything coming in the United States, from other places, 10% from China.
Mm-hmm.
You will see the hypocrisy of some of these organizations, how they treat with small economies like ours. So we need to protect our local manufacturing, local production, local agriculture and industry, of course, by taking the necessary steps to ensure that our farmers can survive. One, the subsidies that are provided to those products, for those products that we are importing, and basically to ensure that we have proper food security, to ensure that our economy can withstand whatever it is that is thrown at it by the different decisions that are made by leaders such as Donald Trump. On a whim, just, get up one day and say, okay, this is the case, and without any consideration, of course, in how it's going to impact the rest of the world. So the short answer to your question of, did I think the minister budgeted for or accommodate for what is happening in the macroeconomics? I didn't see a lot of it. I heard her respond to a question yesterday pertaining to that, that is under consideration, but the situation is evolving daily. Today is Wednesday, so they're going to be announcing, Donald Trump is going to be announcing additional tariffs from the Rose Garden. No, other countries are lining up to negotiate with him to keep the tariffs down. But these things are happening and are changing as we speak. And so we have to be agile and be able to adjust and plan for the long term to boost our economy so that we're not affected by some of these things that are happening as time goes along.
Right. Are you hearing enough from the government in terms of tax relief and or incentives, things like reducing bureaucracy for the MSME sector?
Well, as far as the taxes are concerned, the government just presented a tax package, a tax project, where companies that owed outstanding taxes and were charged interest and penalties and those taxes, where the government waived the interest and penalties if all the principal amounts were paid up, which was very successful. The government managed to collect over $10.5 billion in tax revenue. Because of this, a lot of companies took advantage of it and paid up their outstanding principal taxes, not the interest, to have the interest waived. So that's one good thing. It frees up a lot of MSMEs who are behind on their tax payment. As far as tax incentives are concerned, for manufacturing currently exists a scheme called a productivity incentive relief, where companies are able to retool their businesses and import materials without paying any GCT on the materials that they are importing. Some of these are duty-free, so they actually bring in the stuff to improve their factories, improve their output, build capacity without paying any duties, which is good. I think they should go further, and in looking at the stuff that we import, looking at all that we import, and incentivize the country to manufacture, to build, to make those things, so that we are less dependent on imports, reducing our imports and our dependence on imports. I know that, as far as our dollar is concerned, when we import a lot, we do present a lot of pressure on the Jamaican dollar. So these things will augur well if we implement and incentivize production in our country.
Do you hear a lot within the sector itself in terms of training and sort of capacity building programs? Are they trying to improve their operations and so on in order to capitalize on these opportunities? Yes?
Absolutely, Richard. And I must commend the government again. We're training the government premier training institution, HARD NTA, RTNT provides free training, which would be free training. Imagine this country, a Jamaican individual, man or woman, can go to the RTNT and get training in business, training for a skill, training for a lot of things without paying any money. Plus, they get a stipend to buy lunch, food, bus fare, whatever, to actually come to school. So in that regard, I think as far as capacity to build individual and also training for business, where businesses themselves get training through the private sector organization of Jamaica, which we're a part of. They offer a lot of training sponsored by different bodies. The Development Bank of Jamaica also provides some amount of capacity building. Jamaica Business Development Corporation also does the same. So, and in that regard, I think the government, along with private sector entities, banks, some of them, do provide a significant amount of training to build capacity so that MSMEs can build their companies and actually have, proper documents within which they can interact with financial institutions and governments themselves. So we do have a lot of training just for us to take advantage of what is provided. You really can take the horse to the water, but it's up to the horse as the horse wants to drink.
In closing, Donovan, do you sense a kind of energy within the MSME sector in terms of the outlook going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the sector is encouraged by some of the responses coming out of the government. We, through our President Antoinette Hamilton, would have loved it for some of the facilities provided by the Development Bank of Jamaica, where the fees for some of those facilities, like borrowing $10 million, you have to have $1 million upfront, plus the other fees, which is going through the authorized financial regular banks. A lot of those fees are rolled up in the loan, so you don't have to provide any funds upfront to borrow those loans. So it makes it easier for us to get money. I think the Exim Bank in Jamaica as well has very low interest rate, lower interest rates than the banks. And if funds are provided through the DBJ to them, if some of those funds are provided to them, then financing your business and getting cheaper financing for capital injection into your business and for actually expanding your business becomes a lot easier. So there are some positives, but I think based on the times we're in, Richard B., I think a lot more we need to double down, we need to push a little harder. We need to know, look at, we got the macro right, we got the macro fiscal stuff right. We now need to look at how we can look at the economy of the country and how we can build and get ourselves in a position where we can grow beyond the anemic 0.8 and 0.1%. That's not going to cut it going forward.
All hands on deck is what we need. Donovan Wignall, always a pleasure talking with you, man. Have a great day today, and thank you so much.
Yeah, same thing to you and your listeners all over the world, Richard.
All right, appreciate it.